Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to dive into the life of a really fascinating woman,
Yeah,
Herminia Mühlen.
she had a really interesting life.
Yeah, and it's especially interesting because we're looking at a period of immense change in Europe.
Right. Yeah. Huge changes happening all around her.
And she was right in the thick of it, born into Austrian aristocracy, but became a staunch socialist.
And she saw it all. Opulence pre-World War I, and then all the turmoil of revolution and war.
Yeah, and even the rise of Nazism, like,
It's incredible.
yeah. How did these experiences shape her political beliefs?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to try to figure out.
Yeah, and thankfully we have this great source material to work with.
Right. The end and the beginning. The book of my life. Her memoir.
And we have all these detailed notes, too. We can really get a sense of the actual people and events.
It's amazing. It's like we have a key to unlock a secret history or something.
Totally. All right, so where do we even begin with a life this full?
Well, I think it's always helpful to start at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Her childhood. Even as a young girl, she was already questioning the norms of her world.
Really?
Yeah, like she talks about being shocked at like 8 years old.
8.
Yeah, to discover that a politician her family considered a scoundrel could appear innocent and friendly in person.
Wow. So she was developing that critical eye at a really young age.
Seems like it, huh?
Yeah. I mean, that early exposure to hypocrisy can really make you question things.
Absolutely. And remember, this was a time when the Austro-Hungarian Empire was starting to show some cracks.
Right. A lot of people across Europe were questioning the established order.
Exactly. And on top of all that, she was also confronting the ingrained classism of her aristocratic circle.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, can you imagine questioning the idea of divine justice at 10 years old?
In that environment, that's pretty bold.
I know, it's pretty remarkable.
Well,
It seems like her questioning nature was almost
like what?
like an inherent drive for social change that would only intensify as she got older.
Yeah, I think you're right. These early experiences really lay the groundwork for her later embrace of socialism.
Definitely a gradual awakening fueled by these experiences.
Totally. And then, of course, her formative years were just a whirlwind of travel and encounters.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. She traveled all across Europe and beyond, each experience adding a new layer to her worldview.
That's so cool.
I know. She even talked about her first time having German sandwiches.
How was it?
She thought they were too thick. And she initially perceived Germany as a vulgar country with beautiful railway stations.
Uh-huh. That's a great anecdote.
I know, right? It really shows you how even like simple cultural encounters can really challenge those preconceived notions.
Absolutely. And shape how we see the world.
Right. And she met people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
Like she talks about this woman who was terrified of crossing the Atlantic.
Oh, wow.
I know, and it really highlights Thurmillen's empathy for those less fortunate.
Yeah, that's so important.
And then there's this crazy story of her riding this totally unruly stallion in Morocco, totally defying those societal expectations of how a young lady should behave.
What a rebel.
I know, right? So we see her compassion, but we also see this adventurous spirit, a willingness to break free from those constraints.
Yeah, and those qualities that were nurtured during her travels
Yeah.
later align perfectly with her rejection of her privileged upbringing.
Right, embracing a more egalitarian world.
It all makes sense when you look at it that way.
Each encounter, each experience, chipping away at that rigid worldview she inherited,
Leading her to a more nuanced understanding of the world.
and her place in it.
Yeah, and I think that's where her marriage comes in.
Right.
Because marrying into this prominent Baltic German family.
It really placed her right in the heart of the social inequalities she was already questioning.
Exactly.
Talk about a clash of ideals.
Totally. Here she is, a wealthy landowner who sympathizes with the working class.
So much tension.
It must have been. This clash between her ideals and the realities of estate life really ignited something in her.
Oh, absolutely. You can feel her growing disillusionment in her memoir.
Yeah.
Yeah, she clashes with her husband over his treatment of workers,
Oh, wow.
openly defying his authority, refusing to compromise her principles.
She was strong-willed.
For sure. And it's such a stark contrast to the idyllic beauty of the Baltic landscape she describes,
Oh, yeah.
which ironically mirrors the stark social hierarchies she's seeing.
That's a really powerful juxtaposition.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just external conflict she was dealing with.
Right.
She also talks about her struggles with infertility
Oh, wow.
and the societal pressure to have children.
That adds a whole other layer of complexity.
I don't know. It really does. It was
Yeah.
a challenging time for her, for sure.
Yeah. And this period in her life, I think, is really pivotal. all the external conflicts mirroring her internal struggles,
Yeah.
creating this perfect storm that ultimately leads her to embrace a new path.
A new beginning.
Exactly.
Like she's at this crossroads, right?
Yeah.
Personal and societal disillusionment.
Yeah, and it's here that we really see that beginning you were talking about.
Right. She makes a clean break from her past.
Heads to St. Petersburg,
A fresh start.
immersing herself in all this socialist literature.
Really diving into the theory.
Yeah.
And not just reading about it, but
Right.
engaging with the people whose plight she'd been thinking about for so long.
Putting it into practice.
I'm curious, though, are there any specific thinkers or movements that we know really influenced her?
Well, she doesn't explicitly name them in the memoir,
Right.
but you can definitely see echoes of like Rosa Luxemburg
Oh, interesting.
and Clara Zetkin,
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
both advocating for women's rights as part of like a broader social revolution.
And her actions really do mirror that call for involvement in these workers' movements.
Totally.
Especially when she starts working alongside those Estonian workers on her husband's estate.
Which of course leads to their separation.
Wow, talk about commitment.
Right. Choosing her ideals over the comfort and security of her marriage?
This is not just intellectual curiosity anymore.
Definitely not. This is about putting her beliefs into action.
And it's not without risk either.
Oh, absolutely not.
Pre-revolutionary Russia,
Yeah.
a time of huge political upheaval.
And she's involved in these clandestine study groups circulating forbidden literature?
She was putting herself in real danger.
Definitely. And it wasn't just a theoretical exploration for her either. I mean, this was a lived experience with very real consequences.
Which becomes even more apparent when she has to flee Nazi Germany and Austria.
With her partner, Stefan Klein,
Right.
a Jewish man.
Their escape is just incredible.
Yeah, a harrowing testament to their courage and the very real dangers they were facing.
Absolutely. But even in exile, she doesn't abandon her passion for social change.
She keeps writing.
She channels it into her writing.
And we see her unique voice really come into its own.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that her writing bridges personal narrative and social commentary.
Right.
Can you give me an example of how she does that so effectively?
Well, how about her short story?
Yeah.
The Death of a Shadow. It's a story about this woman named Perdita who falls under the sway of Nazi ideology.
Oh, wow.
And her friends are just horrified.
Yeah, I bet.
And Zermühlen uses this really interesting metaphor.
What's that?
A fading photograph
Oh, wow.
to represent Perdita's gradual detachment from reality.
That was pretty powerful.
Yeah, and her descent into fanaticism.
It makes you think about how insidious these forces can be.
Yeah.
How they can creep into seemingly ordinary lives.
Right, and warp people's perceptions of reality.
Absolutely. Then there's her story, A Secondary Happiness.
Oh, yeah, that one's great.
All about Christine, who's trapped in this loveless marriage.
Yeah, yearning for something more.
And it really resonates with what we've learned about Zermühlen herself.
Right.
Rebelling against those expectations placed on her as a woman and an aristocrat.
It's like she's exploring the limited options available to women at the time.
Yeah.
And the sacrifices they had to make to break free.
Christine's journey is both heartbreaking and inspiring.
It really is. And these stories aren't just abstract explorations either.
Right.
They're rooted in Zermühlen's own experiences and the real struggles of people around her.
It's reality filtered through her unique lens.
A keenly observant and empathetic lens at that.
And of course, we can't forget her most famous work, Our Daughters, the Nazi Girls.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
A really unsettling question, right?
Yeah.
How could young women, even those from privileged backgrounds, be drawn to Nazism?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's like she's trying to understand.
Yeah, not just condemn.
Right. She explores the allure of belonging,
Yeah.
that appeal of a simple worldview.
Especially in a time of so much uncertainty and fear.
It's a reminder that we're all susceptible to these kinds of manipulations.
Absolutely, especially in times of crisis.
And what makes this book even more powerful
Yeah.
is that it was banned in Nazi Germany and Austria,
Wow.
a testament to its threat to the very ideology it dissects,
She wasn't afraid to challenge those in power.
even when it meant putting herself at risk.
No, she wasn't.
So she's exploring these complex social issues through her short stories and then tackles these big political questions in Our Daughters, the Nazi Girls.
Right, and her literary endeavors didn't stop there.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
Yeah, she also published a collection of children's stories
Children's stories.
called Fairy Tales for Workers' Children.
Fairy tales with a socialist twist.
You got it.
That's incredible. What were they like?
Well, imagine all the classic tropes, brave heroes and wicked villains.
Yeah.
But instead of princesses and castles, you have tales of working-class solidarity.
Wow.
Cooperation over greed, the importance of challenging unjust authority.
It's brilliant. She's using storytelling to plant the seeds of critical thinking and social consciousness.
And they reached a wide audience, too.
Really?
Translated into tons of languages, Chinese, Japanese, all over.
Wow, the global appeal of her message.
Yeah, it really resonated with people.
It's amazing how she weaves social commentary into different genres.
From adult fiction to children's stories.
It speaks to her versatility as a writer.
Right.
And her commitment to using her platform to advocate for a more just and equitable world.
Totally. And I think it highlights another really important aspect of her work.
What's that?
Accessibility.
Okay, yeah.
She wanted her message to reach everyone regardless of age or background.
Even in the midst of all this personal and political turmoil, she never lost sight of her goal.
To inspire change through storytelling.
What a powerful reminder.
And she did it with such a unique blend of personal experience, social observation, and a deep understanding of human psychology.
It's really something.
Yeah.
But there's one more piece we need to talk about.
Yeah, what's that?
The role of her lifelong partner, Stefan Klein.
Right.
He seems to have been such a constant presence throughout her journey.
Absolutely.
Sharing her passion for social justice and supporting her through all those incredibly challenging times.
He was much more than just a presence.
Yeah.
He was a vital force in shaping her life and her work. Their story is a testament to the power of love, shared ideals, and unwavering support in the face of adversity.
We've really gotten to explore Herminia Zermulin's journey.
From countess to socialist writer.
Right. But we can't talk about her life without understanding the role of her partner, Stefan Klein.
Yeah, their story is just amazing.
A true testament to those shared ideals and unwavering support.
Especially when you consider all the challenges they faced. I mean, even their first meeting back in 1907 was pretty unconventional.
Tangier, can you imagine connecting over literature in a place like that?
Yeah, it's so cool.
It wasn't love at first sight. It was a meeting of minds.
A shared passion for ideas.
That sparked this lifelong connection.
I mean, here she was.
A young countess.
Still figuring things out with her upbringing.
And then she meets this Austrian Jewish intellectual who defied all those expectations.
They're kindred spirits.
And their relationship really transcended those social barriers and political differences.
A true testament to their values.
And I'm sure it raised some eyebrows.
Oh, definitely.
A countess with someone like Klein.
Yes, someone her world just wouldn't approve of.
But they defied those conventions.
Yeah.
Putting their shared ideals above everything else.
And it wasn't just romantic love either.
Right.
They were true partners.
Mutual respect, intellectual collaboration.
A shared commitment to making the world better.
And that's what's so amazing about their dynamic.
It feels so modern.
Especially for that era.
They supported each other's work.
Klein introduced her to those socialist circles in St. Petersburg.
Encouraged her writing and translations.
Helped her find her voice.
He was her champion. You can really see that in her memoir.
He truly believed in her.
And then, of course, Nazism rises and the world descends into this chaos.
It's hard to even imagine what they must have gone through.
Fleeing Germany, then Austria.
Always on the run.
Leaving everything behind.
For their safety and their beliefs.
It's a testament to their resilience and their commitment to each other and to their ideals.
But even in exile, they never stopped fighting.
They kept writing, speaking out against injustice.
Supporting other refugees.
It reminds us that even in the darkest times, love and hope can endure.
And that fight for a better world.
Yeah, and they never let those hardships extinguish their passion for social justice.
They could have retreated.
Lived a quiet life.
But they chose to keep using their voices.
Advocating for a more equitable world.
It really makes you think about how we respond to adversity.
Do we retreat, or do we find strength in our shared values?
Like Zermulin and Klein.
It's an important question, especially with everything going on today.
It reminds us that even small acts of courage and resistance can make a difference.
And I think the biggest lesson we can take from their extraordinary lives is this.
What's that?
Never stop questioning. Never stop fighting for what you believe in.
And never underestimate the power of love and solidarity.
Especially when facing adversity.
This deep dive into Herminia Zermulin's life has been eye-opening.
A story of transformation, resilience.
An unwavering commitment to social justice.
Her experiences, her relationships, her writing.
They all give us these valuable insights into the complexities of the 20th century.
And they really make us think about our own roles in shaping a more just and equitable world.
Look, that ripple effect.
Even our smallest actions can have far-reaching consequences.
What ripples will you create?
What stories will you tell?
How will you use your voice to make the world a little bit better?
A little bit brighter.
We encourage you to explore Herminia Zermillen's work.
Discover the power of her words to inspire and challenge you.
And maybe even ignite your own journey of transformation.